How aggressive should your calorie deficit be? First of all, let's just start with what a calorie deficit is. It is essentially where you are intaking less calories than what you are burning, which means with this you will lose weight as a result. So yes, this is how you lose weight, by eating a calorie deficit, if you haven't already heard. But the other issue is, yes, it sounds so simple, oh yeah, just eating a calorie deficit. So why do people struggle to lose weight, and why do people struggle to stick to a calorie deficit? That's why I'm going to talk about how aggressive you should be going in your calorie deficit to suit you and your lifestyle. Obviously, there is different perks, different pros and cons with different approaches. So if you, one approach that we'll talk about is aggressive, then we'll talk about the medium, so like in between sustainable and aggressive, so that medium, and then we'll talk about really sustainable and slow. So let's start off with the sustainable approach. This is a calorie deficit of about 100 to 300. If you're also unsure about how to find out your calorie deficit, just a quick one, go search up a TDEE calculator online, fill in the prompts, and that'll give you something called your maintenance, which means that if you eat that number of calories a day, you will stay the same weight or around the same weight. So essentially, the calorie deficit is by reducing that number and eating below that number. So when I'm saying 100 to 300 under, I mean under that maintenance. So say for example, your maintenance is 3,000 as a male. For a female, it might be like 2,100. That means if you're eating like 300 under that sort of 3,000 mark, you'd be eating like 2,700. This would be a sustainable calorie deficit, a really sustainable one. It would mean that results will be slow, but it'll be very sustainable. Like you could literally go out every weekend and get hammered if you have the right plan and still lose weight. This would be perfect for people who are happy to play the long waiting game. They're not in a rush, and they can sort of understand that results will come with time. They're not people who need to see immediate results, for motivation, and they can understand that it's going to be a process. This is also for people who like to have, who have really busy lives with social events, or maybe it's certain things like they don't cook, and their food's cooked for them, so they really need that flexibility because someone's making meals for them, and they can't really get onto this person about tracking and weighing foods and all that. There's certain stereotypes and all that stuff, and certain reasons as to why someone might go on this, but at the end of the day, it is very sustainable. Then you've got like the balanced approach, which is in the middle between sustainable and aggressive, which is where I sort of like to put my clients on our program on. I like to find this balanced approach because if you really have the right plan in place and the right strategies and approaches in place, you can make this just as sustainable as the sustainable approach. If you've really got the right plan, you can get great results, losing about half a kilo, maybe a little bit more a week, while still be able to go out, most weekends and have a really good meal out, have a few drinks if you really like. But yeah, just, actually enjoy social events each week, obviously with the right plan, as I was saying. Also very dependent on the person. But as I said, we've got a lot of approaches and strategies that we use in our program, such as our calorie booster approach, which frees up extra calorie space for the weekends. We commonly to get results like Shub, who's lost almost 20 kilos in the space of this year in the lead up to his wedding. Also Brant, who lost 11 kilos in 12 weeks as well while being overseas in Netherlands. You can imagine what the nightlife would have been like over there. And then also Denise, who just recently had a newborn baby. She lost 7 kilos in 12 weeks. So when it got to the weekend, her parents would actually look after her newborn, which is, really actually good for her. But that means when it got to the weekend, she wanted to enjoy herself after a hectic week, having to deal with the newborn and then also deal with a busy work schedule, while also doing her workouts from home because she had to watch and look after the baby as well. But the thing with this, not every weekend will be a blowout. You can have a blowout more often. Like you can have it, like when I say blowout, say you're someone who really likes drinking, going and having a big night out where you drink a lot, eat some bad foods, and you just, go clubbing and all this stuff. Say you're someone who really loves just going all out, you could probably do this like once a month. So you get your reset, your monthly reset. You could do this once a month and still get good results. Or you could have a bit more tame version of that and do that every few weeks. Obviously not a massive blowout, but a bit more of a tame version where you can still definitely enjoy yourself, but get good results as well. But then let's get on to our aggressive approach. So the aggressive approach is when you're trying to lose a bit more than like 800 grams of weight per week. So like 800 grams to a kilo or anything more. So you're in a calorie deficit essentially of like 800 to 1,000, even more. It's realistically not ideal long term, and I would not recommend it, especially if you're someone who's trying to stay toned and keep lean muscle on you, because with time, being in that aggressive of a deficit, most people are going to struggle to get really sufficient protein, and they're going to struggle to maintain the muscle mass that they have. So for most, long term, being in an aggressive deficit, more than like 2 months, you will probably lose a lot of muscle as well as a part of that weight. But also you will get really intense cravings, and it'll just be something that'll suck to stick to long term. I would recommend a short term. For example, like a lot of people usually like to go starve themselves like for 4 weeks before they go on holiday. It's not quite that. You can definitely do it in a smarter way. But in saying that, for example, I've been doing a lean bulk for the last 5 months, and I'm going to England in the next 4 weeks. So I'm just trying to cut off some weight. And not just because I'm going to England, but also just in general, because I've been bulking up for 5 months. So it's sort of around that time where I'm due for a bit of a mini cut to get some of the excess fat off. And then I'll start lean bulking again after I'm back from England. But look, even with a really good plan in place, it will be hard to actually have a really enjoyable weekend social event where you can go out and have a meal. If you're going to go out and have a meal, it would have to be a place where it's like healthier. Like for example, if you go to a pub, you'd have to get like a steak, and you might have to share like chips with someone, like go halves on the chips, or you might have to get like a mashed potato or like a salad. Or if you might have to get like a healthy takeaway. You probably couldn't get like you probably couldn't go and get yourself, you definitely couldn't get yourself like a pizza. You'd have to go and get like some grilled, or like GYG or Nando's, something a bit healthier, and you'd have to pick a good option from there. You wouldn't be able to load yourself up on like 2 grilled burgers or like a nacho fries or regular nacho fries from GYG. You could, but like it's very, something would have to be sacrificing itself. Before I end the video, I also want to compare this a bit to like your training. You know how people, they get into the gym, they've never been before, they might have not been before, and they all of a sudden expect themselves to go 5 days a week. Most people are not going to stick to that. It's going to turn from going 5 days 1 week to going once in the next 3 months. Whereas if someone was new and they aimed to go like 3 days a week, depending on what they're doing at the gym, they'll probably stick to it. Like most people, half stick to it. Depends what they're doing. If they're trying to get toned and then they go to the gym and all they do is just cardio constantly, they're going to hate themselves. No one likes doing bloody treadmill, running on the treadmill for an hour. But let's say they mix it. Let's say they do a bit of cardio, but they do some weights, or they just prioritize weights. They'll probably enjoy it a bit more. It doesn't even have to be weights, but some sort of other type training. They might do sport or something like that. Something a bit more enjoyable 3 times a week, then they'll probably stick to it. But then you get like the really sustainable, which is like 1 to 2 sessions a week. Even if you're hammering yourself, doing cardio for like hours in those sessions, it's probably still a bit more, you'll probably still show up because it's only like once or twice a week. In your head, it's only once or twice a week. So, whatever you're doing, you could probably still stick to it. In terms of deciding what is right for you and what suits you, I know I hope this video has given you guys a bit of a better idea around that. If you're still unsure, we do offer a free game plan call where we can help you decide this. We can give you a personalized plan of action for your fat loss goals, depending on your lifestyle and just your general sort of preferences. This is something that we'll be able to tell from this call. It's a no pressure call. We're not there to sell to you. We just want to give you a free game plan of action. So if you want to claim this, just go to my Instagram @landonquinn.coaching and just message me the word calories so I know you came from this YouTube video.